Hi, my name is Chet from Avion Technology here in the Chicagoland area. We are a digital agency based out of Arlington Heights here in Chicago. I do these little videos primarily for a non-tech entrepreneur audience. These are like 5-minute videos that I do. So again, if you're like a techie or someone who's written a lot of code, or someone who's from the tech world, maybe you're not the right audience. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're just looking at increasing your knowledge about tech, then this video might be for you. Um, Today we're going to talk about this whole debate about native versus hybrid versus a PWA. So I'll explain to you what they all are. We're talking about mobile apps here. Native is when an app is designed or developed in a native in a native format, like iOS or Android, using Java for Android and Swift for iOS. Hybrid is when you are using something like Cordova or React Native as a wrapper around your HTML application. So that's called a hybrid. And the last is a PWA, which is essentially using JavaScript libraries, but the app itself is built in it's built in HTML. So all of this might sound very confusing for you. So let me first start off by explaining to you what they all mean. Apps have been there for a long time, and we all know that more and more users are now shifting to mobile. If your business does not have a mobile strategy in 2020, I think that is definitely something that you have to give a little bit of thought to. A lot of times, a lot of small businesses really do not pay any attention to the traffic that is coming to their website. Google's SEO depends a lot these days on whether your website is accessible via mobile phones. So please, 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 do yourself and your business a huge favor by checking your Google Analytics and seeing if your website is responsive across devices and browsers. Because if your website is not responsive, then you're probably losing out on a lot of potential customers who cannot access your website because it is not responsive. So once you have that piece figured out, the next piece you got to figure out is how do you engage your audience who is solely through a mobile only strategy. And for that, you really have three routes. One is building out a native app. If you don't know what a native app is, Google it. You'll know. It's basically an app which is built just for iOS or just for Android. It's deployed through the stores, and it's your traditional app. The second is a hybrid app. A hybrid app is essentially an HTML kind of an app inside a JavaScript wrapper, like Cordova, which used to be PhoneGap earlier, or it's compiled to native, like React Native, or something like Ionic. And the third one, of course, is a progressive web app. So a lot of times, customers ask me, which one should I go for? All of them have their pluses and their minuses, and so I'm going to quickly skim over what they have in favor and what goes against them, and then you can probably take a much more educated guess. So a basic underlying rule of thumb is that if you're building a very intense app, you should go native. There's a reason for that. Apps often have to access a lot of the inbuilt libraries within the phones. And if your app needs to access any of the native libraries within an iPhone or an Android phone, it is best that you build a native app. So this will be all those mobile games, for example, or or something like, let's say if you're building a Fitbit or an IoT kind of an application. For that, you are definitely going to need to build out a native app. If you're looking at building something which is really not that extensive, which does not need to access the phone's libraries, but at the same time you want to have design flexibility. So one of the problems with native is that you really are constrained by Apple and Java and Google's store kind of policies. So you have design limitations, you have limitations of a different sort. If you want to kind of not have those design limitations, if you want to build out something which is which is much more flexible in terms of the design, and you want to build out something which is fast, which roll it out really quickly, I say go for a hybrid app, right? And the third is a progressive web app. For example, if you go to Uber.com and open it on your Safari on your Safari browser in an iOS, your experience will almost be like as if you're on an app. So that's what a progressive web app does. So my personal feeling is that for 80 to 90% of small businesses, a progressive web app really does the trick. You do not need to have a native app. You probably do not even need a hybrid app. You should probably use a progressive web app. And the biggest plus for that is that it's very, in terms of cost, a progressive web app costs way lesser than a native app. It takes way less time to develop it. There are a few limitations. For example, PWAs are not distributed through the stores. The link for it is actually would be available on your website. So that's one limitation. But at the same time, they do the job and they do the job well. And for most small businesses who typically do not have a lot of budget for the mobile strategies, if you want to engage your customers, if you want to engage your audience through in the mobile world, then I would say go for a PWA. That would make a lot of sense. So there was just a small. This is just a small kind of informative session about iOS versus hybrid versus PWA. As always, Google this and to find out more about what works and what might not work for you. But if you have any questions, this is my email. Feel free to send me an email. Pretty responsive to answering emails, and yeah, would love to know more. Again, this is Chet here from Avion Technology in the Chicagoland area. Thanks for watching this, and I hope you like it. Thank you.